Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Practice question. SBR, December 23. This is the question. You know very well. The question number two, attach the marks of 20 marks. 20 marks question. So for 20 marks question, first of all, before reading, you must have to know that how much time allocation. 20 marks multiplied by 1.8 is equal to 36 minutes. So students, you have 36 minutes. 20% time, 20%. That means 4 minutes. You have to invest to get the best return. Invest to get the best return in terms of execution for planning. That means approx 7 to 8 minutes. 7 to 8 minutes you can invest for planning. And planning includes read carefully, understand the requirement very carefully, and brainstorming, very important. I strongly suggest for ethics, brainstorming is very important. And for ethics, my recommendation is to classify the brainstorming two parts. I will discuss this point, how to brainstorm the question with two steps. 2 steps brainstorming for ethics question. I will discuss here. Okay, so number one, quickly read the main content. DAY-2 company is a pharma company, pharmaceutical company, number one. The financial year end 31st December X7. Following exhibits available on the left-hand side of the screen provide information relevant to the question. Ethical consideration describe ethical issues surrounding DAY-2 company. And of course, always examiner examines some other area of the syllabus. Here operating segment. Here examiner examine other part, that is, or I can say accounting issue, that's IFRS 8. Easy standard. Describe the potential operating segment in DAY-2 company. Information should be used to answer the question requirement with the response option provided. Okay, first the requirement. A, using exhibit 1, discuss the ethical issue caused by current business situation. Very straight, simple requirement. Discuss the ethical issue. 10 marks and professional marks. That's 2 marks. Total 12 marks. So 10 technical marks, 2 professional marks. If you handle the technical marks in a structured way, inverted commas, structured way, so you will be able to get 10 plus 2 marks. So what a simple equation. Put the effort for 10 marks and get 12 marks. This is a bonus. But structure answer. I will provide guidance, no worries. Professional marks will be awarded for identification of ethical principles and application to these scenarios. So explain in accordance with the principle of IFRS 8 operating segment whether A, B, C, and D should be treated as separate reportable segments. Your explanation should cover 8 marks. Should cover definition of operating segment, aggregation of operating segment, and identification of reportable segment. This is 8 marks question. So out of 20 marks, approx 60% belongs to ethics, 40% belongs to IFRS 8. So make sure you have to invest your time with same structure. Out of 36 minutes, you have to invest 60 minutes time, almost 20 to 23 minutes for ethics, and for 10 to 14 minutes about IFRS 8 operating segment. So don't mismanage. Do practice in this way. Okay. Now start. Ethics point. This is ethics point. student, whenever you are reading the ethical case, I strongly suggest that you need to prepare your mind with respect to the principles, with respect to the ethical principles, and also with respect to the threats reflecting to ethical principles. So read the question and simultaneously try to identify the points. That's important. Now come on. The finance director of DAY-2 company is not a permanent employee, but is paid on a consultancy basis. Okay, so this is about a finance director. One moment. Yes, I hope that screen is very clear to you. Yes, the finance director of DAY-2 company is not a permanent employee. So the story is about starts from finance director, not a permanent employee, but paid on a consultancy basis. He's currently on a 6 months contract. Okay, contractual employee. The CEO is a personal friend. CEO is a personal friend of finance director and recommended him to board of DAY-2 company. Finance director and CEO are ACCA members. So first para, if you have read the first para, so what the point need to identify here? Just a raw points need to identify here. This is something ethical issue or threats affecting to ethical principles. That's called familiarity, because familiar includes the close relationship with employer, having some close relationship with the employer, key management personnel. So CEO is a key management person and finance director having a close relationship. So it's a threat of ethical principle that may affect the objectivity, the principle of objectivity. Okay, so that's the raw points you need to develop in your mind. It's my suggestion. That's very important during the reading of the question. DAY-2 company currently has cash flow problem. Okay. CEO has asked the FD if he prepared to reduce his current fees. Reduce the current fees by 50%. Finance director contract is due to renewal in the next month. And CE, so first thing, if CEO is asked, word use asked. So if I use the term of threat, that's intimidation. So if it's a general discussion, it's not confirmed that it's the threat about intimidation. But if you read the next line, the CEO has recently spoken to FD and stated that his contract is more likely to renewed if he is prepared to take a fees reduction. So if you combine these 2 points, it's a soft threaten, so-called intimidation, pressurizing. So it's another important point. That's you are threatening or intimidating threat. So you know very well, intimidating threat will affect to the principle of ethics or code of conduct. That's called competency. In this case, reduction of fees like this, contract renewal. So if you are pressurizing the finance director in this way, so that will impact on the competency. So first point we identified as a threat, familiarity. Second point, it's about intimidation. Okay, next point. The finance director is upset. Another confirmation, it's become upset. So if the employee become upset due to intimidation, it may possible to compromise the competency. By the fee request, as no other director has taken a cut in their salary. He is currently undertaking going concern review of DAY-2 company. Oh my God, the issue has now become very serious, affecting to competency, and here the point of do and die of company. That's going concern matter. Reviewing finance director reviewing the going concern matter. But he has decided not to complete his report until he has considered his position with DAY-2. Now the thing become very serious. So although the point start with respect to CEO, but if finance director is thinking that not to complete report and the report of going concern and delay for this report, so another important point that's need to consider here, that's professional responsibility. It's lack of professional responsibility, and it's a threat and affect to the integrity as well. Okay, the FD finance director fundings will also form part of submission of government for funding. Oh, another important point. This report of going concern will submit to the government for funding and will be shared to external auditor as well. Oh. He knows that current cash flow position would indicate the company is not going concern. It's identified. It's very critical. And if it's submitted its report, there would be no government funding. Very serious point. There is also possibility that financial statement would receive a qualified report. He is considering overstating future potential returns on investment. Okay, so that if he's considering overstating future potential returns on investment, once again, lack of professionalism, and furthermore, overstating the future profits of the company. That's about something related to advocacy. Because here the finance director promoting the employer position. Promoting in terms, I'm using the word promoting, which means that here exaggerating the figures. So here objectivity and integrity will compromise. So till now, issues start from the CEO relationship with the finance director, and the CEO actually threatening to the finance director, and then finance director compromising their professional competence. So these are the raw points you need to develop in your mind. You need to develop in your mind whenever you are reading the question. This is very important, because first thing about the ethics case, it's for the raw thinking, and then shape up your mind to draft your answer in a structured way. So first step, raw thinking. Second step, make sure you understand the requirement and question very carefully. Make sure. And number 3, shape up your mind. How to draft the answer in a structured way to get technical and professional marks. Okay, I will guide you further, don't worry. In addition, furthermore, many of the accounting staff are remote employees. Okay, meaning that they are now working at their home rather than working in office. Okay, it's a very norm in the current environment. The finance director is worried about the possibility of the data theft. This is also a relevant point. Unfortunately, he does not have skills, nor does Dario have capacity to undertake a wider spread investigation in issue. Okay, the problem is important, but here the concern point till now, the company don't have capacity and for the protection of the data, and even finance director don't have skills. Given the current request to reduce this fee, the cash flow situation, he also does not have incentive to deal with potential data theft. Oh, although this is an important point, but once again, lack of professionalism means less priority or inform the board to enable them to address the problem. So that means the important the possibility of data theft or the potential loss from the data theft is a serious concern. Company don't have capacity, finance director don't have skills, and even finance director having no priorities to discuss this matter in front of board. So this is another very critical matter here. However, he has asked the information technology department to add productive monitoring software, productivity monitoring software. Okay, this is a good move, productivity monitoring system. But productivity monitoring system is another point, because one thing is about the issue of data theft, another thing about the productivity monitoring system. To all remote employees' computers without their permission or knowledge, and any employee who spend time on non-business website will immediately disciplined. So productive monitoring system, it's actually the consent point is right, but the way to handle this issue, for example, if someone spend time on non-business websites, so take immediate discipline. This is what I personally think. The very first step should not be like that, immediately disciplined. Alternatively, another methodology can also adopt. For example, develop a policy and inform to the employees that you should not use your time or use the system for non-business websites like this, or provide a professional trainings to the employees. But at first go or the first action about the immediate discipline, what I think it's not the right strategy. Concern is right, but the way to handle this concern, the way to handle this issue, it's not appropriate. Okay, let's move. This is what about the case. And actually there are two cases here. First, the before this last paragraph, that's about the relationship and the going concern, all these matters. And the second case is about this data theft and the productivity monitoring system. So how to handle this ethical case? How to handle this ethical case? So you have read the requirement, no? 10 marks, and comfortably you can attempt this question. That's A part, irrespectively you have read the B part or not, because B part don't have any connection with the A part. You can easily attempt the ethics, don't have any connection. Both are independent parts, belongs to same company, but both are independent parts. So first thing, that is about we have read the question. That's good, we have read the question. But what's next? What's next? The next point, now come on. The next point is about my guidance, how to cover or how to handle ethics to get technical and professional both marks. So here for DAY-2 company, part A, SBR and ethics, 12 marks. You need to apply rule 2080. Number one, for 12 marks question, that's 10 technical, 2 professional marks. You have total 22 minutes. Number one, for 22 minutes, you need to plan your answer. That's approx 5 minutes you need to invest for reading, planning, brainstorming. Reading, understanding properly, and the key points. That's identify the key points. I strongly suggest that for this type of question, if you invest more than 5 minutes for the planning, no worries about that. You have total 22 minutes. What I personally suggest, if you invest 7 to 8 minutes the planning, and you are comfortable with the plan, clearly understand the requirement, jot down all the points, and before attacking, identify the key points, how to get this 10 marks, 10 plus 2 marks. If you invest here 7 to 8 minutes, no worries about that. Because here, your writing matters, or draft matters, that's concise and well structured. Rather than you write a lot of things, but it's not relevant. Actually, this is the comment of examiner. So relax. First step is that you have read the question. During the reading, you have identified the raw thinking, the first thing. Then the second step is that mapping your mind. For ethics, you must have to do this, mapping the mind. And for mapping the mind, you need to classify your mind in, you have to develop your mind in 2 steps. Step number one, recall or arrange all the points related to ethics. Now think carefully. Here, your brain must work in these points. The first point, recruitment of finance director. The case about finance director, recruitment under the recommendation by CEO who is a friend. This is all the question points. Number 2, it's a temporary contract due to renewal. Number 3, CEO asked to take a cut in the fees and also stated to renew the contract. Number 4, undertaking a going concern review of the company. Number 5, finance director thinks that the company is not going concern. Number 6, finance director is considering overstating the future potentialities. That means these points you need to recall with respect to this question. All things it's mentioned in the question. So make it clear that yes, I have identified all the relevant points. So your brain must identify these relevant points first. So actually, in this case, I have classified the ethics case. I have classified to deal the ethics case in 2 points: case of finance director, case of monitoring system. So here, the case of finance director. So first, you must ask yourself, yes, these are the relevant question points. Then, whatever you have identified or you have a raw thinking during the reading about the ethical issues, now try to shape up the mind. Now try to shape up your mind. That is called mapping the mind. Number one, if this is about recommendation by the CEO is a friend, the recruitment under recommendation by the CEO is a friend. So this is something about personal relationship and threats about familiarity. So that's need to plan first. If you, without any planning, just start drafting the answer, you will lose the professional. That's another point. Not even to get technical marks. So students, whatever I am telling here, I am sharing here, that is about the quality practice. If you practice 25 questions of ethics, but not with the examiner expectation, it's waste, garbage. Do practice 8 to 10 questions with these guidelines. That's the point. So first, the recruitment matter here. You must say here, for 8 marks out of 12, total 7 to 8 marks, 2 marks is about, I will write the answer about the personal relationship. That's called threats about familiarity, and this will particular impact on the objectivity, principles of the objectivity. Number 2, if something about temporary contract and due to renew, and CEO asked to cut off the face, and also intimidation, pressurizing with respect to renewal of the contract. That means this fees reduction and contract renewal, it's these 2 points combined together, that's about the intimidation, threats of intimidation, and effects to the principle of competency, ethical principle of competency, compromising ethical principle of competency. Now the point number 4 and 5, finance director undertaking going concern review, and the initial thinking that the company is not a going concern, and finance director wants to hide this point. So completion of this work is a professional responsibility. So previous 2 points affect to the professional responsibility, professional competence, and this is a very serious point. So we have to write the thing in this manner. And last, finance director is considering overstating potential return. So overstating the forecast, that is called advocacy threat, affect the principle of integrity or objectivity. So first of all, you have to plan the ethics point in this manner. Read the question and develop the mindset with the raw format. Number 2, recall or arrange all the data of the question. Number 2. Number 3, shape up your mind that these 2, 3, 4 points I will write accordingly. And then start drafting your answer. Number 1, part A, 10 to 12 marks, case 1. The case number 1. So now you need to develop the things according. You have to write the things according. Number 1, personal relationship. Number 1, the personal relationship point. So here you can mention that finance director relationship with the CEO reflects the familiarity and self-interest familiarity and self-interest threats. Also the self-interest threats. And this is one of the concern. Now you need to connect with the principle to maintain this is one of the concern to maintain independence in his decision. Finance director means his personal friendship or relationship with CEO has resulted in the offer of support, and this may, the offer by the CEO to the for the personal support. If we cut the salary and then you need something, I will help you as a friendship. This may compromised his objectivity. This is for 2 marks. This is for 2 marks. With the case, identify the threats and how it may impact on the principle of the ethics. Now, next point. Whatever you have planned, you have to work out accordingly. Fees reduction or contract renewal. That's called intimidation. Here the threats have manifested or shape up. You can use the word shape up. Themselves by the CEO, by the CEO request and pressure or threatening to or asked to reduce. Don't use the word threatening. Use the word. Use the mild word here. His fee. It's mentioned here, and in fact, you can. Yes. The CEO asked the final if it's prepared to cut this 50%. And you can endorse your point. You can endorse your point with this point. The CEO has recently spoken to finance director and stated that his contract is more likely to renew if he is prepared to take a fees reduction. You just copy paste this. Sir, is this allowed? Yes, why not? It's allowed. Use the statement from the question. This is effectively an intimidation, threat. So intimidation, threat. It's about the threat which can affect the principle of professional competency. Competence of finance director. So that is the point. That is also about 2 marks. Now the next point. Completion of the work. Now the finance director. That's a professional responsibility. That's reflect the 2 points. That's it's now he is undertaking a going concern review, and finance director thinks that the company is not going concern. That is the point. And he wanted to hide this point actually to save the position or to save the relationship. Now, the next point, how to write it. This pressure, or you can mention that continuing with the above 2 points, and this pressure has resulted in the finance director not submitting his going concern review to the board. Hiding the information. This could result in a lack of professional competency by the finance director and a delayed review of the situation by the board. And in fact, you can mention one line as a possible consequences. The consequences or possible consequences. The possible consequences is that the subsequent disclosure or disclosure not in the right time of the going concern may be too late to save the company. So for 2 marks, it's good enough. Last point. Finance director considering overstating the future potential returns. Overstating the future potential returns. That's a point. Another point. So here, once again, this is something called hiding the truth. Hiding the truth of here not the client, here the company where you employed. That's called advocacy threat. Reflecting, actually compromising the principle of objectivity or integrity. So last point for this case, the advocacy threat. That was advocacy threat can create the potential for biased as the finance director is considering overstating future potential returns This challenge has arisen because of the need to present a submission. You can refer the question of government for funding. And also one more thing, to avoid qualified audit report. You can just refer the case and copy paste here. But one thing remains, information must represent the true nature of business and the fundamental principle of integrity or objectivity. of the professional accountant must be represent the true nature of the business, the principle of integrity of the professional accountant. That's all. Yes, this is good enough for the sake of 8 marks. But the process to, this is the final answer. But the process you have to obey. Number 1, read the question and develop some raw material. Number 2, develop your mindset. First of all, make sure that I have identified all the points from the question. Then connect the points of the question with the structure answer. How to develop the case of the ethics. That's the third point. That is called the mapping of the mind. So this is what you need to follow the structure. No? But here is the another point that we need to consider. Case number 2. Case number 2. So one more exercise. Case number 2. So once you have read the question, okay, that's good. Second thing is monitoring system project of the monitoring system, PMS project of the monitoring system, and the data lost and all these things. So what is this about? Number 1, here finance director having lack of skills and lack of interest. That's a point. Open the question once again. About the data theft, lack of skills, lack of interest, and company don't have capacity. Number 1. Number 2, the first point is about the data security. Number 2, monitoring system implementation. Okay, without prior knowledge of employee, and monitoring system implementation is good, but the concern point without prior knowledge. Concern point, if someone some case identified related to the use of the companies or the system for other websites, take immediate disciplinary actions. So the way to handle this issue, it's a concern point. So one by one. Now you have read the question, identify some raw point, just start mapping the mind. First, develop the key points of the questions, then compose your mind, then key points identification. Connect the things with the ethical issues. Number 1, monitoring data left. Okay, this is important. But the issue is about capacity. Capacity is a matter of the company. But the finance director don't have skills and he don't have any priority. Although the matter of concern is very important, because he is depressed due to the reason of the salary cut and contract renewal, uncertainty about the contract renewal. So actually, if something important for the company and you are not prioritizing due to this stress, you are compromising the integrity. That's a point. Number 2, monitoring system, not unethical, but the concern point, the methodology to implement. So here you have to recommend the alternative methods. That's all, nothing else. You can mention here, this is not unethical, but sometimes the case is like this, is identify the ethical issue. So you must have to respond that, no, it's nothing unethical, but the way to handle this issue, it's not appropriate. Alternative suggested method is this. Now, come on. So you have developed the mindset. The planning side is complete. Now it's about to draft your answer. Be committed that for case 2, you've identified these 2 things. Number 1, 2 marks related to monitoring data theft and capacity skills, and 2 marks for the last point. Now, you can start, for example, the risk of data theft through the remote working. Yes, it's a very important matter for the company of employees should have been addressed. That's important. However, there is a capacity issue of DAY-2 company, and about finance director, you can refer the case. About finance director, unfortunately, he does not have the skills, nor does Doria have the capacity to undertake the vital investigation. And given the current situation, reduce his fee and cash flow situation, also does not have incentive to do the potential data theft or this. So you can just save your time, copy, paste. You can do that. No need to bold it or mention here, no worries. Just okay. Yes. So now the statement about finance director, unfortunately, he does not have the skills given the current request to reduce his fees and the cash flow situation. He does not have the incentive to deal with the potential data theft, and also the board to enable them to address the problem. Okay. So this is the point number 1. So finance director, complete your statement. Finance director here. Finance director, personal integrity. Yes, compromising the integrity is extremely important here. Or extremely important where dealing with such challenges or these type of challenges. It is also important or vital for him to recognize the importance of sharing his concerns with the board to enable them the decision to address this problem. So this point you have covered with the 2 marks. That's a point. You can use the question data, but at the relevant time. Just copy paste the data and not adding the constructive points, that you will not be able to get the marks. Last point, productive monitoring system. Productive monitoring system. The finance director to implement productive management system or productive monitoring software is not itself unethical practice. You have to mention this. But he wishes to implement this change without prior knowledge or without intimating is a matter of concern. Number one. Number two, threaten to employees with immediate discipline action does not seem to be considered approach. You can combine these points, no worries about that. And I suggest that you have to mention alternatively, the IT department should remind the employees about the use of business equipments for business purpose only. This is simply good business practice and not unethical on the part of finance director. So this is your recommendation. That's a point. This is your recommendation. So this is what about how to deal ethical case to get technical plus professional marks. I hope that you have got a valuable insight, or you have got the technique how to plan and execute accordingly. Believe me, if you practice your rest of the ethics question in this manner, you will not be able to get technical 10 plus 2 professional marks as well. Now the last point about this ethical issue. It's about examiner report diagnosis. So be attentive, students, be attentive. Examiner report extract, that's about, I've extracted some important point here. Yes, I've classified the examiner report extract with two parts, weaker answer or good answer. Weaker answer, let's start. So first point of examiner, weaker answer of part A were unstructured and presented a list of rote learned, just knowledge, rote learned with ethical principle, with minimal reference to the scenario. So whatever I have done, I've covered this point. The answer is structured. It's not only the rote learning. It's not only about just knowledge. We have drafted the answer to put the to connect with the case as well. Structure, application based, that means the answer connected with the case. Number 2, be careful. Other poor answers, attempts presented lengthy extraction from scenario. Just take out, copy the extract from the scenario, lengthy extracts without providing any comment. So this is called dishonesty. Be honest with examiner. Be honest with yourself and the examiner. On which ethical principle were being breached or why information was relevant. You haven't mentioned what happened, what threats are here, what principles breached here, and actually why information is relevant. Why relevant means whenever you write something about the threats, so that threats, whenever you are mention about the threats, it's about why. And whenever you connect threats with principles compromise, that is called breaching of ethical principle. So you have to do practice in this manner. Number 1, identify the issues with the case. Then try to connect the case in a manner. Number 1, threaten what the threats identified here, and what, based on that threats, what possible principles will compromise. So that's the sequence. That should be the sequence. Number 3, answer with simply identified issues as unethical, without explaining how and why. You just mentioned that this is unethical, but there is no justification why this is unethical. You will not be able any marks. You will not be able to get any marks. Number 4, weaker answer part A tended focus only one or two of many issues, which were available for comment, and marks earned were lower as a result. Means in the case there are 3 to 4 points that examiner expect you need to highlight as ethical issue. You just highlight 2 points. Point number 4, reason, or I must say the weakened answer reason is only one: lack of planning. You people are very much hurry to draft your answer. No, I strongly suggest, for if you are dealing with the ethical case, at this point you can invest 25 or 20, even 30% time you can invest for planning. Have to make a good plan, because by 30% time, if you have developed a good plan, mark my word, after planning, execution will not take much time. So rest 70% time or 72% time for the execution, it's good enough if you have planned very well. What the good answer? On the other hand, concise answer which focus on each issue identified from scenario and explain ethical issues breach score well. Number one, not too much lengthy, concise answer, and explain with the structure way, threads, then compromise, identify the threads and expected compromising of the principles. Make a good headings, whatever you have planned. This is called good answer. And this is all about short examiner wording, short but well structured answers. So why examiner use the word here short and concise? Because you need to draft in a very qualitative manner. So if your examiner expect to write in a concise and short way, so ask yourself where the time you need to invest more for planning. Make a good plan, especially for this ethics part. So this is all about the how to handle the ethics, and I have done a very latest question with you. I have discussed a very latest question with you with examiner highlights. If you feel that this particular part is valuable for you, do comment me on my YouTube channel. Your comment actually will benefit to someone others, because someone read the comments of my video, he or she will watch and get this valuable insight. So part A, I have done it. Now it's time for part B. It's very known that with the 20 marks question, 10 to 12 marks related to one part related to ethical issues, another part is about accounting issue. Now start for the for B part. Now start B part. So the practice question, DAY-2 complete December 23. It's continue. Part B, IFRS 8. It's about IFRS 8 operating segment. 8 marks question. 8 marks. So once again, before start to read the question, first of all, rule number one, 20-80. 20% time you need to invest for planning, which includes time allocation. First of all, you need to allocate the time. For 8 marks, you have 14 minutes. Plan your answer. And you have 3 minutes time. You need to invest for 3 minutes time for reading, understanding, and brainstorming. Identify the key points. Identify the key points. Now, come on. Yes, DAY-2 company has four divisions, A, B, C, and D. Division A, Division B, produce and sell to third parties. By the way, important point is that examiner very categorically examine with this requirement that explain with accordance with the principle of IFRS 8 whether division A, B, C, D, whether division A, B, C, D should be treated as separate reportable segment, and your explanation should cover definition of operating segment. Number one, straight definition, aggregation principle, and identification of reportable segment. So ideally you must have to answer your question, draft your answer with 3 separate headings. But drafting is the last point. First of all, read the question, but also read the question with the same context with these 3 headings. Now start. Division A, B, A and B. 4 division A and B, produce and sell to third parties. It's a pharma company. DAY-2 is a pharma company. It's mentioned on the main screen. A and B produce and sell to third parties. Okay. So what produce, what sell? Division A produces. 1 minute. Yes. Yes. Division A produces vaccines, sell them to the governments, and generates 60% of the total revenue. Okay. Division B produces allergy testing kits and sell them to pharmacy wholesalers and generating 20% of the dairy company total revenue. So two things important here. Number one, there are two divisions and one generates 60% of the total revenue of the company. So according to the IFRS 8 threshold criteria, division A and division B as well, both divisions meet the criteria. In fact, cross the criteria of the threshold of 10% of revenue. One thing, but do remember, if the discussion is about aggregating, so important point is that division A and division B class of customers are different, because division A class of customer, it's government, division B class of customer, wholesalers. In fact, nature of products also different. In fact, also the concern point about the nature of distribution. So it's about the aggregating. Furthermore, division B, long-term average gross profit is significantly higher than division A. Oh, another, the economic characteristics also different. B's gross margin is higher than division A. Division C and division D undertake research and development. Division C does not provide any research development services to third party and only conduct activities for division A and B. Okay, that's a point. Division C does not generate revenue, from internal or external source. Oh, it's purely a cost center. So it's very clear, very simple. Cost centers, it's not possible to meet the definition of operating segment, because operating segment definition, it's categorically mentioned that having business activities to generate revenue and incur expenses. So they are incurring expenses, but they are not generating revenue. Either generating revenue external or internal or both, but they are not generating revenue internal or external. So it's very clear, it's not meeting the definition. Division D performs contract investigation activities for other laboratories and pharmaceutical companies. Okay, it's division D also the research development, but perform contracts for investigation activities for laboratory and pharmaceutical. External revenue, they earn the revenues. For division represents 20% of total revenue. Okay, 20% of total revenue. So division D also reflects or also reflecting something about the reportable segment, because 20% of the revenue, but it's not possible to aggregate with any of A or B, because A or B is a production unit of the company, and D it's about services. But one thing is still question mark, that is about chief operating decision maker of all divisions. The operating result and discrete financial information. In fact, the operating result for division A, B, and D are regularly reviewed by CEO. Okay, and the last line, CEO is a chief operating decision maker. Okay, and the results, financial results, include separate divisional operating profit loss statement from which operational decisions are made. Costing, budgets, divisions are reviewed by CEO. So it's very clear, all division having independent financial information. There are four divisional heads. That's very clear. 4 divisional heads which are directly accountable to CEO. And these heads regularly discuss the operating activities, including research development activities, financial results, forecasts and plans of the divisions. Okay, so CEO is a chief operating decision maker who actually supervise all the divisions, and all divisions are under the control of separate divisional heads. So these divisions are reportable segment. So first thing is about the definition. Second point, it's aggregation. Third point, threshold, criteria for the threshold. So it's a very simple question. It's all about IFRS 8 knowledge and application. And whenever you are attempting the accounting standard, whenever you are attempting the accounting standard question, there are two possibilities. Number one, the first possibility is like this question. You have to explain the principle and connect with the case, knowledge and application. Second type of the question is about calculations. Sometime examiner expect you or require about explain the calculation as well. But we will discuss with the next module this point. This point we will discuss with the next module. Okay, let's start. We have read the question. So what we have done, we have read the question. Are you sure that you have understand all the requirement and the details of the question? Yes. Now, before attacking, control your emotions. Even the questions are, even the question is simple, but control your emotions. Have to develop your mindset, mind mapping. First 4 marks, it's about operating segments, IFRS 8, definition and application. Definition. So whenever you will write the answer, the key points, first of all, for this 4 marks, you have to write the definition about any division. If any division wants to report as reportable segment, so that division must having a business activity including generating revenue and incurring expense. That's the first condition. Number 2, supervised by chief operating decision maker. And number 3, discrete independent FI financial information. So you have to recall this. And exactly you have to write the answer with your own wording. So first 2 marks for definition. Next 2 part is application. You must say that division C is absolutely not operating segment. It's not meet the definition of operating segment. It's a cost center because they don't generate the revenue. And yes, division A, B, D meets the definition. So you have to report, you have to draft your answer in this manner, with this structure. So I'm not attempting the question on the CB format, but just sharing the answer. So because it's a simple question, you can draft it. Number 1, definition. Operating segment, it's a definition. It's very simple. Number 2, it's application. It's application. Definition with your own wordings, all these things. Engage with business activities, chief operating decision maker, and discrete financial information. You can use your own wordings. No worries about that. Number 2, application. Division C does not generate revenue. Make a sentence. Do not write in this manner. Division C not meet the definition of operating segment. No, examiner expect to write in a professional way. Make a sentence. Why not? Division C does not generate revenue from internal or external source. So it's a pure cost center. So division C is not operating segment. Division A, B, D all generate revenues. Have heads. You have to mention, connect with the above case. Connect with the definition. Generate revenues. Have heads who directly accountable to CEO. And heads regularly discuss the operating segment, including research development activities, financial forecast plans, and their divisions. You can just copy paste these points, like we did with the ethics case. Copy paste the points. It therefore seems reasonable to conclude that division A, B, D are separate operating division. That's all. 4 marks. You can easily write in 5 to 6 minutes. It's very simple. Number 2, aggregation of operating segment. Here, the aggregation, number 1, if we talk about aggregation, so division C, it's out of the question for aggregation. For A, B, D, it's not possible to aggregate because it's a service point. So discussion about A and B because both are production divisions. So here, first of all, you have to develop your mindset. Number 1, aggregation criteria. You need to recall aggregation criteria. Number 1, you have to mention that 2 or more divisions can be aggregated if their economic characteristics are similar, plus more conditions need to consider. Type of customer, nature of production process, nature of distribution, like this. So you have to mention with your own wordings. Number 2, application. Let's start. First, you very basic, the knowledge. IFRS says that 2 or more operating segments can be aggregated as a reported a single operating segment provided similar economic characteristics, means their profit margins are similar, which is not the case here, and similar in the following respect: nature of the production process, nature of product and services, type of customer, distribution method, and regulatory environment. Here, A and B both produce, you cannot mention that division A or B cannot be aggregated. No, you have to draft the answer in a professional way. Why not? Division A, B both produce sell pharma products and nature of the products could be deemed similar. So all the production process for vaccines and allergy testing, A and B having different products. So production process are likely to be different. Number 1, products are different. Also type of customer are different. At one side government, other side wholesaler. So economic characteristics, both division not similar. Question mentioned that, just copy paste this point. Division B long-term average gross profit margin significantly higher than division A. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to aggregate division A and B into one operating segment for reporting purpose. That's the point. So it's very simple. Last point. Operating segment IFRS 8, definition and application. Here the definition about the threshold. So number 1, criteria for the operating segment. First, meets the definition. That's point number 1. Then meets the 10%, any of the 10% threshold criteria. And reportable segment must be reported till the reportable segment's total external revenue equals to 75%. So examiner expect to mention these 2 points. So these sessions are not for developing the concept. I'm assuming that you have a knowledge. So recall your knowledge of IFRS 8. Application, 10% revenue thresholds meets for all 3 divisions, as we have already discussed. So first you have to mention the reportable segment. Number 1, definition. Number 2, 10% qualitative threshold plus 75% criteria of the total external revenue. Then connect with the case. Revenue of division A, B, D exceed 10% threshold of total revenues. Because the first threshold is meet total revenues. No need to apply remaining threshold of the profit or loss or total assets like this. Any one of the criteria needs to meet. Or so the division A, B and D will be reported separately. That is all about the question. But the last important thing, as per my commitment, examiner report diagnosis. What's the weak answer? What's the good answer? So it's your choice where you should be. The weak answer. Many candidates, listen carefully, many candidates provided definitions and principles for my first aid, although some struggled to separate answer into 3 recommended in requirement. And requirement particularly mentioned definition, aggregation, and reportable segment threshold. So if examiner asked with 3 different structures, particularly mentioned to report the answer in the 3 ways, you have to answer with the separate headings. Some answers identify only whether each was on operating segment, fail to then identify reportable segment, fail to identify the 10% criteria. Why? Because I must say here, all of you people having a good knowledge of entire syllabus. But the problem is that exam techniques. The problem is that you don't practice the questions with examiner expectation. You always having a fear, drafting. But get rid of this fear. How? Just practice the thing. Practice number 1, practice number 2. For example, practice number 1, your position is worse. Practice number 2, position is worse. But practice number 3, your situation become better. 4, much better. So move on accordingly. That's a key point. What's a good answer? And I'm sure that all of you who are watching this video you will become part of this good answer. Presented subheadings which matched 3 bullet points within the requirement. Like we discussed, like we covered answer. First heading, knowledge, and then attempt is made to answer, ensure every possible mark is earned. Make a heading, knowledge, application. That's all. This is what about the good answer. All the final wording, well-structured answer. Well-structured answer. So that is what about this module 3. That's all done, students. These boot camp activities, it's free for all. Very oftenly, I also conduct some drafting activity on my WhatsApp group. Do join my WhatsApp group. That's SBR Talk group. That's mentioned. The link of the WhatsApp group available with the first slide, or I will also share with the description side of this video. So students, this is all from my side for module 3. If you feel that you have got some valuable information, so do comment me. Thank you very much. Take care a lot. Assalamu alaikum.